Kimberling, and we want to talk to you about, we're going to have a new preparation for marriage class for the Internet campus coming up in February. And we've got a couple, Randall and Kirsten Gantz, sorry about that, who took the class last April, the first time we had one. And so I want to let you guys kind of share a little bit about what you went through, and maybe just to start out, why did you take this class? What kind of drove you to take an Internet class and a prep for marriage class?
Well, we just felt like it was really important to start off on the right foot and spend the time thinking through the issues that we knew were important, but maybe we hadn't touched on as a couple in our dating relationship. So we just really were committed to doing it the right way, we felt, from our perspective and from God's perspective. And we wanted to invest the time and energy in getting things started on the right foot.
And in our case, too, we were dating, but we weren't engaged yet. And we were talking about marriage. And I've always just felt very strongly in going through a premarital class before getting engaged, just because I've seen so many friends who, I call them the miserably married. And as a person who'd been single for a long time, it was the desire of my heart to be married someday, but not to be miserably married. And so I wanted to go through a class and make sure that there were not any red flags that had been missed or any issues, because I felt like so many people get into the planning process of a wedding. They've bought the dress, the reception hall is reserved, there's been a down payment on the cake, and nobody wants to bail because there's so much money invested. Sure. The ring is purchased, and they've told everyone. And so we just really wanted to go through that and just really talk about all of our issues and make sure that everything was out there and we hadn't missed anything. And
that was obvious, you guys. You were just so open and transparent. And that was one of the things that was the first Internet class that just amazed me, even the first night of the class, how open couples were, much more open than they are like when I'm teaching a live class where people are there. The Internet, I think, brought us together, but it also gave people a little bit of maybe safety, and they were able to be more vulnerable.
And I think transparency too, because you're on a computer and you're talking to people that are really all over the country. They don't know you, you don't know them, they don't know what you look like, and vice versa. And so I think that you're able to really put yourself out there a little bit more and speak more openly about something that if you were in a classroom situation, you might be embarrassed or you just didn't have the courage to really talk about. And I was actually surprised, and we talked about this, about how transparent people really were.
I think so too. Did you feel the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's just a very non-threatening way to go through it, and you're sitting at home in your easy chair watching the computer screen, and at the same time just able to share with a close-knit group of friends that you develop over time, and you develop a somewhat of a distant relationship with them, that you're there for the same cause and purpose. So.
One of the things that I thought was interesting is the kind of the format of the class, usually about the first 15 minutes with just kind of interaction, and the video was about 45 minutes, then we'd come back with question and answers. And I got to where I would open the life group room a little bit early, and by the time I would come on, I think that one started at 8 Central Time, people were interacting and talking, and you guys were keeping up with each other, and how'd you do on this exam, and all this kind of interaction, and it just, to watch you guys connect was just really exciting for me, and you did make friends with people that were, we had New York and Connecticut and California and people from all over.
And really celebrating their marriages and talking about their showers that were coming up and the whole planning process. I think we were the only ones in the class who weren't actually engaged.
I think that's probably
true. And we were also the oldest ones in the class. And that was kind of interesting, too, from our perspective, is we kept going, oh my gosh, we feel so old compared to everyone else. But it was still, it was fun, and it was interesting to go with them through their planning process.
One thing I wanted to mention, Randall, you travel some, so kind of tell how that worked. Nights we'd have classes and you were away somewhere.
It was just very convenient from the standpoint that I could be in North Carolina or wherever it was, and we could at the same time meet up and just go through the material. So it was just very convenient. I was at my hotel in the evenings, just plan my schedule and to where we could be online and complete the course. So it worked out really well.
And that worked really good. And we also had a couple, she was in Connecticut and he was in Fort Worth, and they had the same situation because they weren't going to be together till about 2 weeks before their wedding. And so they were able to connect with this kind of class, which to me was exciting. That gives us a way to help couples that probably wouldn't have a way to take a premarital class otherwise. What did you guys gain out of the class? What was positive for you?
Well, I just think, as I mentioned earlier, just talking about issues specific that you probably wouldn't maybe be comfortable talking about at Panera Bread or something. You just There wasn't any one issue or item that sticks out when I'm thinking back that springs out of my mind, but it just really helps you deal with some of maybe the tougher things, financial things. Hey, let's walk through these items, okay, and where are you at, and where am I at, okay, and how are we going to blend and get and make this come together to where it's going to work for the two of us. It may sound good, but let's kind of talk through this, and and really forces you to get and talk through some tough things, which, I think both of our opinions, I think it's you see out there that people haven't really dealt with some of those things, and so it leads to trouble pretty quickly. And financial issues tend to crop up very quickly and be troublesome to a marriage, and so we felt very strongly that we need to talk through that and come to agreement. And whether it's that or other family that's involved, and how do you deal with family, and how are you going to deal with those things, and how close is your family to you, and how am I comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with that? The sexual aspect and talking through that, and where how do we feel about this together, and where do we want to be together, and just all the important things that make up a married relationship. You talk through those things.
And part of the homework every week, as you know, there were a list of questions, and we would laugh because it would take us hours to go through that homework because we would chase all these rabbits all over the place. And I think for me, a lot of the questions that you have us ask of each other were things I had not even thought about. For instance, I know one of them was, how do you feel if our parents become elderly, one becomes widowed or ill? Would we just move them into our house? Well, that was something we'd never talked about. And I found out that I was saying, absolutely yes. And he was like, well, wait a minute. Maybe how would that affect our family? That class forced us to talk and answer some questions that had not even come up in my mind.
That's good. And it got you guys to come to the decision to take it to the next step, because a month or so later you guys got engaged.
Right.
Marriage is, for me and for other believers, marriage is supposed to be a forever deal, and you don't want to go into it lightly. You have to go into it with your eyes and your heart wide open. And I think that sometimes in today's society, it's just, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll just head to divorce court and the kids will be fine. But, that's not the way it's supposed to be. And if you just take the time and just really explore the different things in your relationship, then you can avoid a lot of that pain.
Absolutely. And that's what we want. We want couples to do that. So if you're dating, or you're engaged, or even if you're recently married and didn't have a chance to take advantage of a class like this before, we would love to have you guys be a part of it. We start Monday, February 2nd. We'll be from 7:30 to 9 Central Time, and we'd love for you guys to be a part of it with us. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.